Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Long Play Club for Batman Arkham Asylum. My name is Christian Buckley. You're here on JoyClicks. This is part 2 of our definitive deep dive, dissecting, revisit, replay of Batman Arkham Asylum for the Long Play Club. The club consists this week of myself, to my right, Jack Martin. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back. Excited to talk more Arkham Asylum.
Absolutely. And rounding out the Long Play Club for this Batman journey, we have Omar Nakavi. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. I'm excited more so than the first episode to talk about Batman Arkham Asylum.
I'm excited too. Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
First episode, I was really hot in this room, and I think I fixed it. So I'm excited now that I think I fixed it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I'm excited to talk about the ending of Batman Arkham Asylum.
Yes.
It gets weirder in this episode.
For sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of room temperature though, this room is in the attic of this house.
Right.
It gets really hot up here. For video
Heat
viewers.
rises.
Exactly. And I don't think attics are insulated. But for video viewers, I'm wearing a beanie right now because no AC in the window. It was like 60 something earlier today, and I was like, I'm set for fall. It's September 1st right now, and I'm comfortable. So I'm in a great mood right now.
Hell yeah. Fall is probably the best season. I haven't been outside today. I probably should.
Yeah.
Check it out.
I went outside to get a package. What a snapshot into the way we live. That's the only reason I went outside today. Completely worked from home, went outside to get a package, ran back inside.
Mm-hmm. Hideo Kojima, he just predicted it all, you know?
Indeed.
That is the second time now in our not Metal Gear Solid long play discussion we brought up Kojima. So
I don't know about you, but I think about Metal Gear Solid probably like 10 times a day. So I think it's only natural.
It's the 7-year anniversary of Phantom Pain.
Phantom Pain
today.
That's crazy.
7
September
years. Nuts.
The best Metal Gear Solid game.
Maybe, you know, maybe. Well,
That was not the one. That's not the one you brought.
that's a good point.
No, it's not. It's not the one I brought to the Hall game. I was purely basing my choice off nostalgia, and it worked.
Okay.
Well, Jack, speaking of the Hall of Game and bringing a game that was, based off nostalgia for a popular franchise that we're talking about, on the first Hall of Game induction for the JoyClicks Hall of Game, you did bring Batman Arkham City, which is very much not this game. We're talking about Batman Arkham Asylum. We finished part 2. Before we get into where we left off, we all, I think, had some, not rude awakenings with the playthrough on the last discussion, but for me, at least, as someone who historically Asylum isn't my favorite of the three, it felt a little bit rougher this time, but still, I'm really, really enjoying it. So I'm curious, having seen through the second half of this game, very, very general thoughts. Jack, Arkham Asylum on the replay, picking up from last week. Less problems, more content. How are you feeling?
I feel pretty much the same as I did last week, and it sounds like I feel similar to how you feel about this game. Going back to it, I definitely remembered this being not as great as City plays, for sure. I like the confined feeling of the story, and that continues here. There are some weird moments in the second half of this game, which I really enjoy, and I think that's kind of where it gets really crazy in a really great way. So I love that part about this sequence. But part of me is oh man, I don't know if I need to revisit Arkham Asylum ever, unless I want the cozy vibes of the story. The gameplay is just kind of hit or miss for me at this point, but I did really enjoy the story we went through here.
Nice. Omar, I'll throw it to you, same question. Having just beaten Arkham Asylum, historically, from what I recall, this is your favorite of the bunch.
Fuck you! Don't say that shit.
Is it?
I've always been. I think even on that Hall of Game, I might have thrown it to Jack, been "Yo, Asylum's better, dog." But, you know, Asylum has always my favorite. This playthrough, sure, was a little weird. But we'll see where we go in the future. But I still find myself fairly impressed at the structure and the foundation that's all here, that is carried throughout the series. And I still respect it quite a bit, even if the writing is kind of piss poor sometimes and offensive.
Sure. Well, yeah. Good to hear. I'm not trying to call anybody out for their favorite Arkham games. I'm just saying I'm curious where you land on it. But picking up where we left off last week, we beat Harley Quinn, and I had to do the fight again. I don't know why. I thought I had the save wheel after he did his little spiel to Oracle, and I scanned the Mr. Freeze cell, but no, I had to do that entire fight again. Thankfully, it's not that long, but I did make sure to pay attention to what you guys were talking about last time, where Conroy does a little chuckle, and he's like, she's subdued.
What does that mean? I can't figure it out.
Batman being weird.
She's locked away, yeah.
But why does he giggle like that? I just don't understand. It's like, what is... It's just a weird... I don't know. I'm probably thinking too much about it.
It's also weird anytime Batman has fun.
Yeah.
And that's just like a weird in general, and in that context, it's even more weird.
For sure, yeah. So
also, Christian, to come back to your point of, did bats come out after combat encounters? I did confirm that indeed they do.
Yes, and while we are going over pickups, I guess, I did make sure to pay attention to what you said about, like, when combat ends, it sounds like you failed. I get it now. I see exactly what you mean, like that sound effect, but I guess it just never registered with me, because it's like, it absolutely is that, like, it sounds like you're playing, like, the obstacle courses in Assassin's Creed 2 and the Animus, and then, like, it desyncs, and it's like, didn't, and it's like, oh, that's weird. It feels wrong, you're right, but I guess now it's just going to bother me every time I do a fight.
Yeah, sorry for pointing that out. Ever since I noticed that, I'm like, this really bothers me. And it's not in any other Arkham game.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we pick up post Harley Quinn fight, and then our next objective is to go to the Gardens to track down Joker's Titan Lab. And on the way out of this building, I must confess, I did get jump scared by one of the Arkham inmates. Almost two. Because I was like, oh, surely that's the only one they'll do in this hallway. And now another one happened. And I was like, yeah. So. Also, how do we feel that the second half of this game, they become the main enemy? I know we felt weird about beating them up last episode, but...
These are the, quote, lunatics?
Yes, they invade the rest of the island, and you rarely see the Blackgate thugs anymore.
It's definitely weird.
Yeah.
It's an odd choice, and it's also worse that it's like what you mentioned. It's a jump scare every time, and they like spot you from across the map, and they just start sprinting toward you, and it's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, I think the thing that got me is like one was hiding in the ceiling, and I was like, oh, there's clearly no more enemies in this building. When I had to like leave after the Harley fight, and like, nah, they got me. So, when we get into the Gardens, though, how do you guys feel about this environment? Because it's looming there the entire game. Pretty big building on Arkham Island. And sort of begins the other part of this game. Like, the other half of Arkham Asylum is Poison Ivy, basically. So, Omar, starting there, I guess, moving your way to the Gardens, how's that feel?
I can't remember. How did we get there? We went from the intensive, the penitentiary, to the Gardens.
Yeah, you're tracking Harley's like chlorophyll handprints or something.
I think I had a problem finding a door somewhere, but yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan of these lush environments. Sometimes the world art direction's still really good. There's all the greens and stuff. Eventually the reds. I thought it was cool.
And it being, I like how Ivy has like her own area. Like other villains are in particular spots. Like we'll get to Croc, who has his own particular area that's like tuned to him. But this is very much like, oh, we're in Poison Ivy's territory. It's really cool.
I will say I do notice some of the text and signs in that game, and some of the iconography, and obviously the colors. I mentioned this last episode. but it really does look like Bioshock way more than I thought it did. Like, the text, like the fonts they pick, it looks exactly like it sometimes. But
Yeah.
maybe that's a 1950s thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's what is it? It's like Art Deco is like the whole thing that the Batman animated
Bioshock,
series went
yeah.
with, and then Bioshock
Oh, I
also,
see.
I guess. But yeah, it definitely stands out. Like I've never played Bioshock, but I have seen like imagery of it, and I can definitely see where you're coming from with the comparisons for sure. So, because that was also late 2000s, right? Like that was 07?
2007?
Yeah,
I think like 2007.
2007.
Cool.
Which gives them time. Knowing the development cycle, they had time.
Yes. So when we get through that segment, it's pretty straightforward. It's like a couple of, predator rooms. You got to like turn off a electric generator, but we get our.
Oh,
Mhm.
can I mention that really quick? We didn't mention this last episode, but my favorite gadget has been since this game came out. That the crypto, whatever that scrambler is, with the 2 analog sticks.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. It's just so simple,
Mhm.
but it feels so good. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like one of the few puzzly things in the game, and I feel like there should be more, but that's definitely one of those standouts. And if you get that perk to make it a little easier, it's like even that more satisfying.
Oh, what does that do?
So like, the sweet spot for getting it is like a lot bigger. So like,
okay.
it's just easier to find.
Cool.
It reminds me of because there's definitely like a way to strategize with it that like I ended up doing sort of after the first couple. It's like, okay, I'll just rotate one side until it gets the furthest that way, and then spam rotate the other one until it gets green. But honestly, it reminds me of the lock picking in Skyrim. Just like you have to have like the right exact position on the stick. But it is a cool gadget, and I that's another thing this week. We get a lot more gadgets beyond just the gel and the batarangs, right? Like
Yeah, so many comes in the last few hours of the game.
yeah, which is interesting because we talked about it as a Metroidvania, right? And up to this point, there's not too much backtracking, right? Even like going to the gardens, that's still a new area, but they sort of dump the cryptograph sequencer you get like late last week, but here we have the line launcher, the ultra bat claw, and is that all, or is there one more?
I feel like that's it.
Yeah.
Suppose so.
Both of those, though, are very intense for like traversal and creating shortcuts and new pathways. So I feel like it kind of embraces more of the Metroidvania qualities beyond backtracking in the second half of the game when you get all these, but a lot of it is I feel focused on secrets and like Riddler trophies.
Does this mean... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say where I didn't really feel incentivized to explore with them too much and be like, oh yeah, there's that thing over here, where every single time I found one of the walls that were high up, it's like, oh, there's just a Riddler trophy there. So
Do you think that means it's closer to a Zelda-like than a Metroidvania?
that's a good point. And honestly, I will back you on that. I can see that argument.
Yeah, let's go.
So
Can
Also,
I say they
sure.
introduced the the ultra backlaw, and that made me think of a problem with this game that I still have. I hate the tap to like complete like the grates or whatever, or like anything you have to tap multiple times. Like these days with games, there's always the accessibility option of like change it to a hold, and I always do that. I hate like, what am I trying to prove? I don't want to tap X 1,000 times. There's no need. And I'm sad they didn't, unless I like missed that in the options menu. I'm sad they didn't upgrade that.
I bet you did miss the option. It probably just isn't there for sure.
Very well could be.
Yeah.
I didn't check, but I just kind of assumed.
Before this podcast started, I was out here beating the game, and I think you guys could hear my buttons, right?
Yeah.
And I was mashing that A, and a few prompts like, yeah, just like, okay.
Yeah.
I will say though, in terms of mashing on like the grates, we didn't talk about this last week because it's just such a small thing. But one thing that I do really appreciate here, especially when like you get into more enemies at the back half of this game, is there's like the contextual grate open for Batman, where like obviously the voices are pretty telegraphed in this game, but if you're approaching a room and it's like maybe like 6 dudes with guns in there, and then you go up to a grate and you start mashing it, and then Batman just does like the tiny little like foot bump. It's like, oh, there's people in here.
Yeah.
I always loved that. I always thought that was a really cool touch. So,
That was super cool. I noticed that on a recent thing, and it was like, wow,
yeah,
I didn't know they did that.
yeah.
Gentle Batman.
But if you're exploring, he'll just like knock the shit out of that thing.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Well, I think a few minutes ago you were setting me up for how was it to get to the botanical garden? Is that how you say it? And was it because I texted this group chat that I was lost in the asylum or in that chambers? Or
No,
was that before that? Okay,
This
I
is
remember
just
that.
yeah. That was just because that was the next story beat, basically.
okay.
Next.
I thought you were
environment.
maybe not calling me out, but trying to get me to talk on that experience a bit. But yeah, I get lost in this game sometimes. Sometimes I just can't find the right place to RV, or just doing something wrong, or the
That
doors
room-
look too similar.
That room I think is the scariest room in the game for me.
Yeah.
Like especially with Joker like humming in the
Yeah.
background. And then if you get to a certain area, like a body falls down,
Yeah.
and
Whoa.
you can't grapple in that room, so you feel a little helpless. And then at a certain point, there's like a crazed inmate in there, and it's just like bad vibes all around.
It
And it's
definitely
also
is
like
bad vibes.
it is hard to get to, and like sometimes I was definitely in your position, Omar, at various points playing this game in that area, and I'm like, I don't know where to go.
I will say I am grateful that this game came out before more of these like exploration based semi-linear games started doing like 3D maps, because I think a 3D map in this game would be horrible. Like the amount of places that are underground, I feel like it would have been so difficult to track that stuff. Where the map we do have, I don't use it too much outside of like, oh, what building is the next objective in, because I mean, honestly, I just have the knowledge of playing this game before where, like, I know the maps aren't incredibly detailed for figuring out, like, what obstacles are in the way. But, yeah, I was just very grateful. I was like, man, if this had, like, Jedi Fallen Order's map, it would be a worse game. Like, it would be bad. So,
Sometimes I feel like the map is too good in this game, where like, because yeah, I think in terms of pacing stuff, like yeah, I'll be ripping through the game and then I'll get stuck somewhere like, oh fuck, the map's not helping me out, and so I wonder if like partly it's like if the map was a little bit more confusing, just consistently, that might be more cool in terms of making me feel like I'm doing stuff on my own instead of the whole hand holding thing we've been talking about.
sure.
But yeah,
I get that, yeah. So yeah, that is sort of prompted after the trek over to the gardens, and then we do get that optional thing, like Jackie said, where like you hear Joker humming in the abandoned chamber and like talking, and like I was trying to make out some of the stuff, you couldn't really get it, so I just kept moving on like out of that room, and figured I was like, well, maybe I can like go spy on him or something. So I doubled back, and then I was surprised with the rejected like half mutant failed Titan experiment, which this game, does it love jump scares, or does it just love jump scares with things that are like maybe really far removed from what's normal in this game? It's like, here's a freako surprise.
oh, can I be honest? I never got jump scared once.
Really?
But that's not me trying to be like stunt, but like is it do you feel like they keep going for like they are trying to freak you out, or just like the lunatics jumping at you? Like what is a jump scare other than like scarecrow stuff, I suppose?
So yeah, it's definitely not the scarecrow stuff. I think there
Okay.
is a few specific placements of the inmates that they try to get you with, but the specific one is like you're really trying to figure out like, what is Joker saying? Like, I'm really trying to focus on this, like
I see.
Christopher Nolan style, like focus on the dialogue, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
as soon as you get close to it, like sharp music cue right in front of you is like a dead body that drops down.
Oh,
So
yeah, it's definitely a jump scare.
yeah, but
It's definitely. I mean, I feel like it is a horror game in a lot of ways. Like,
Yeah, there are elements for sure.
so we get to the Titan chamber, the Titan facility, which is kind of just like a like the back entrance to a Walmart, right, where they keep all the garden stuff. It's just like
Yeah.
like there's the glass floor with the plants underneath, and then Joker spawns in two Titans. How do we like this fight? Because we fought a Titan so far, we fought Bane, and now we have two of them, which I could see people hate this, I could see people like this, but Jack, what do you think of fighting two Titans at once?
It's fine. I'm at the point with all the boss fights in this game where I'm just like, oh, these don't really interest me all that much. And they're just the mechanics are just really simple. Like throw a batarang when they're running at you, they'll stumble, you beat them up, rinse, wash, repeat, that sort of thing. So yeah, I feel like there's really only one boss battle in this that I really love, which we'll get to. Well, maybe a couple that we'll get to later, but yeah, this one's not one of them.
Yeah, it is pretty cool though when you get to like wrangle them against each other, right? That's
sure.
fun.
That is cool, I think. For as dumb as the Titan stuff is conceptually, it might be all worth it for that.
It's
I don't
nice.
know.
It's super rewarding, especially like there's another Titan later on, and they like add in ads, I guess, and you can just like use the Titan to like clear them out. That's fun. That's really cool, and you get to see the combo go up real high.
It goes real high. I got achievements on Steam today because of it.
Nice.
Very
I was
nice.
like, whoa.
So, and this is
Hey, can I ask, like,
Mhm.
Batman experts, what is genetic mutation, like crazy serum stuff, like a comic thing, or like body horror like this, or like in Batman generally?
I mean, Bane has the Venom, and
Bane has Venom, right?
that is a thing
like-
in the comics a lot. And I think recently there was a story where Batman used Venom, and I remember when the Batman came out, people were wondering if, spoilers for the Batman, I guess, like third act when he like shoots himself in the leg with obviously adrenaline,
yeah.
they're like, is he using Venom? But
What?
that's my familiarity with it. I don't know if there's more, Jack, that you're aware of.
I feel like it's mostly Bane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just always thought, like, I mean, maybe it was at the time, but like, obviously because we're doing Nolan big grounded stuff, it is crazy this game was also coming out and like just making like freaks and like these huge monsters. That is like, this doesn't seem like it's possible, but it's cool. I don't really know. I do think it's kind of dumb, but
Yeah,
it works here, I guess. I don't know.
one of my notes that I have, I don't remember which Titan fight this was about. It just says Titans are so goofy. Like,
Yeah.
they're just so.
And you hear
goofy.
you hear the goons like being like, yeah, when's Joker's gonna give me my formula? And it's like, there's no possible way that you've seen a Titan yet. Or maybe I think they even have. I don't know. Some like, no one wants that, right? I don't know.
I don't think so. So, were there any secrets in the garden that you guys liked? Any of the riddles or anything? The main thing I thought in there was just the Poison Ivy interview tapes. Did anybody listen to those?
No, I would tune them on and then immediately they'd
Yeah.
be cut off, and I'm like, I'm not gonna go back and listen.
Yeah. Hers was fun because you get all of them in like a very, very brief succession because, you know, it's late game. We just got to throw everything at you because we don't really have any other ideas where to put them. It's funny because it's her being like psych-evaled by some dude, and the entire 5 interview tapes is just like her progressively seducing him and more to the point where he like lets her out or something, and then like some other scientist comes in. But it's like very, very hammy. Some guy who's probably like in his 70s being like, oh my heavens, I would never do this, and then she's just like, please. I thought it was funny. So
I got a tape from I think it was a Harley Quinn one maybe later on that like you got some of the backstory like before she was all Jokerfied. But I kept thinking like it is some of that like in this tape she was saying I want to see the people in here and just kind of get to know them, and the person on the tape was like, how dare you say that? These people are so messed up, you shouldn't talk to them ever, they'd rather kill you. And I kept thinking like, okay, yeah, this game is kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Like obviously they're Batman villains, so it's all a cartoon, but you probably can't make a game about an asylum anymore. I don't know. Like
that's the thing I'm wondering, because like Outlast takes place in an asylum, at least the first one does, from what I know, and that thing's huge, and I guarantee you that Outlast probably handles this way worse than Batman does. You know,
for sure. No, you could do it,
yeah,
I'm sure, but
Should you?
Does
is the
Outlast
question.
make you? Should you do it? And Christian, let me ask you personally: does Outlast make you uncomfortable?
Oh, I hate Outlast. It's
Yeah, so I might just be like,
yeah, I'm not. I can't.
you didn't like Hey Ya? I'm sorry, I made that joke already. But yeah, I just think maybe it's like just there probably is a market for it, but I don't know. It's just getting weirder and weirder as it goes on.
Yeah. While we're still talking about sort of like side things, there was one that stood out to me that I got after the I think it was a riddle I scanned after this fight. There was Jack, I'll ask you this because I think you've read more Batman comics than I have. What's the deal with like the Lewis Carroll or like classic like story
Yes.
fairy tale stuff with Batman villains? Because I found Humphrey Dumpler, who's just
Yes.
Humpty Dumpty.
What?
Yeah, there's Humpty Dumpty. There's like the Mad Hatter.
Yep.
Tweedledee, Tweedledum.
Yeah.
Like they're like all of that stuff is ingrained in Batman lore. I am not sure, but I'm 90% positive that it's like public domain.
Yeah.
So they're like, we can just use this. Like they're making a Winnie the Pooh horror movie because that entered public domain. So I think that was probably just always public domain in like the 40s or whatever. And they were just like, I don't know, these exist, so we'll use them.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think that was before or after they made someone like Condiment King?
Condiment King must have been like a 50s villain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there's
just
like
judging
Polka
by
Dot
when
Guy
condiments-
too, and like ridiculous like Batman villains.
Is Polka Dot from Batman
I think so.
or like?
I
Okay,
think
okay.
so.
Most
from the Suicide Squad.
most DC villains that you see in adaptations are Batman things. Like they
Okay.
just are like, oh, this works in Batman. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do that as a movie. Let's do that as a project. But
Yeah.
All right.
yeah, it just very like stood out to me because there's so many of them in this game that you can just pick up, like the ones you mentioned. And Humphrey Dumpler just made me laugh, like that name.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So then is sort of when the game throws you to things, because this is where the big backtracking segment goes in. You got to go like back to intensive care. You got to go find Cash again, and that's where I always get confused because this is after Poison Ivy's plants are Titanfied and take over the island. I was stuck for like maybe like half an hour trying to figure out how to get to Cash before I just realized I could like drop down to the side of the railing. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the whole Poison Ivy takeover in this game. I don't know if you guys feel differently.
This is that big red hall.
Yeah,
It's
like it
really-
looks cool,
okay.
but I think like design wise, it just kind of is annoying to me.
No, yeah, for sure.
It's clunky. It's definitely clunky
Mhm.
because you have to like drop to a railing, glide over, or like zip line over, and then like glide down in a weird. It's not designed very well to like get over there.
Yeah.
I kind of liked it because I felt like a genius when I did figure it out, and also it reminds me of how shitty Dark Souls can be sometimes in terms of platforming. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Sure, that's fair. But this directs us towards the objective of finding Croc's lair, because there's like an antigen you can get from a plant. So that's the next goal we have. And on the way there, we have to go through a few new combat encounters where for one room, I think we have exploding gargoyles to factor in.
Is it just that one room? It might be just that one room.
I think it is. It's the only room where it happens.
Yeah. So, Jack, I know last week you talked about, I think Omar, you were talking about this too, just like cruising through the stealth segments in this game. When we got to there, I was like, oh, maybe that'll throw a wrench in, like, for the conversation. We'll have more interesting things to say about stealth for the back half of this game. But yeah, it's just the one room. So I don't imagine that wowed you guys.
Well, this is actually the one time where I think I died like maybe 3 times
Okay.
because I was just trying to brute force it,
Mhm.
and I had like no health upgrades at this point. I didn't get any of the health upgrades till like the, I don't know, 3/4 mark, and that was kind of difficult for me. But aside from that, this is kind of like the most challenging spot I ran into, and it's mostly because I was just trying to get through real quick.
Sure.
I like trying to not use gargoyles if I can, because it's kind of fun, just like doing that R2 walk around and the vents and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But,
You're a Solid Snake style first, and Spider-Man, Batman second, I guess.
I suppose I just think Sweeney looks dumb in that little small area. If it's New York City, hell, if it's Gotham, I'm sure Sweeney looks cool. But I just think, like, okay, I got shot a bit. Let me just do 5 gargoyle movement maneuvers. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay.
I will say, I'm glad that the gargoyles at least look like they fit in with the design of everything, and it's not like this super, like, garish, big yellow. I know it's yellow if you turn on detective vision, but, like, it's not, like, super standing out of, like, hey, this, you know, like,
it's not like Horizon.
Exactly, yeah.
It's not like what? Sorry, I missed it.
Horizon.
Oh. Yeah. Does Horizon have gargoyles?
Everything you can climb on that game is yellow, and in the new one, if you turn on detective vision, or its version of it, like, everything in that game's yellow.
That's fine.
Horizon stinks.
I'll back you up, Jack.
Let's see here. But after that room, we have a very, very interesting thing. We've talked a lot about Metal Gear already, but we get the third and final Scarecrow experience that I wrote down, Scare Crash, because I talked episode 1, right, about how I got a 360 as my next-gen console. This is my first game for it. So, I was blitzing this game, right? And one of the days, I had the 360 standing up on a desk, and it fell off. And I was like, oh no, my new console. And then I picked it up quickly. I think it was like on and a disc was running. So like I assumed it was like, okay, it's probably fine. And then like a day later, I got to this part in the game and I was like, oh no, I have to return my Xbox. I broke it. But no, it's just Rocksteady pulling a Hideo on me.
You were probably so fucking scared.
I was, dude. I was
like,
very scared.
What's the most common thing to happen in 2009? A fucking Xbox 360 dying.
Yeah.
Like,
they got me.
They sure did. I feel you. I feel bad for you, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then you traded that Xbox right after?
Within a month, yeah. I was like a PS3 time.
God damn. Sorry, what was that, Jack?
I was gonna say this probably is the first time I experienced like a Hideo Kojima video game experience. Because like even the first couple times I've played through this, I'm like, what's going on here? Like, yeah, I didn't quite understand. Like even the second, third time I was playing this, I was like, something's going on here. But yeah, I really like this. This is so well designed, and like with the green like coming up on your TV, this part is so cool.
I try to wonder how it's contextualized, right? Because it's very like everything up to this point has been Scarecrow fucking with Batman. It's like, oh, you see your parents now, or you see your friend, maybe enemy Jim Gordon dying, right? Like, this is directly Scarecrow messing with the player, like Psycho Mantis style, but like Batman is still impacted by it, and it's I'm probably thinking too much about it. Like, it probably was not that deep. They were probably just like, oh, we liked Metal Gear, let's do this as a fun little nod. But Omar, I feel like you would have opinions on this. Is there anything in comparing it
in this moment?
The like, because the Psycho Mantis, like we talked about this a lot, right? Like it's so well done, it's so cool, and it means like so much with the context of the character, the game, the way it talks to Snake. But here, like, are you into this? Do you think it's like stupid, or what do you think of this?
Dude, I think it's cool. I kind of am worried. I worried about it coming into this game because maybe in later entries I don't really like where it goes with some of this stuff, but in this one, I think it's always kind of neat, especially like, all right, with this the third one happens like we're probably like 80% of the way through the game, and they like, hey, remember how this game started? Which I just think is cool. And they do that stuff, and then like, again, I am always confused at how this game doesn't have an M rating, because I think it's pretty hardcore. This sequence, after you get that intro where you're the Joker walking around or whatever, you get the Joker then shoots the player in the face, which is like kind of crazy, I think. It's like, I feel like, to be honest, if anyone ever got it anywhere close to Metal Gear, it's Rocksteady with this. Like, I can't think of anything else. I
Yeah.
don't know. I think it's effective.
Yeah, for sure.
Fucking honestly, on my Steam Deck today, I kind of forgot about it a little bit, and it looked crazy. I was like, Jesus Christ. But then I remembered. But like, they made like a really good looking like fake your TV is dying graphic.
Yeah.
That effect is like still gets me, and like
Yeah.
I know it's coming. I'm like, oh man, this is so good.
Yeah, because they throw in like some static and they mess with like the colors, right? Like the bar
Yeah.
screen. And like I was playing this on a CRT back in the day, so like I really thought it was messed up because like that is the default image. It's like not so common on an HD TV now, but like, yeah, I think it's effective. I just wonder, I guess like, it just was a fun, cool thing, and I'm glad they did it because it is really weird,
Oh,
you know?
yeah. I mean, I do think sometimes when you're playing it, like, okay, it might be a bit in its own ass or lame, or there's like being all easy stuff. But I think to your question of like why they did it, I'm not sure if they knew exactly why they did it, but I do know at some point someone on that team was like, we have to fucking tie this into the narrative for like the third game or whatever. Like, right? Like, it kind of became an integral part of the series. I feel like, right?
Sure. So
But in this game too, like honestly, like I like the sequences, but also how much can I possibly explore Batman's psyche? Like, because this is what every sequence does, really. Like, I feel like we know everything about it at this point, or the questions are answered. But I don't know. How did you guys feel about it? Like, do you guys like hearing about Batman's horrible childhood all the time, and how he deals with that? Or
Well, I guess that's always kind of part of the character. So in some ways, you kind of have to be reminded of that.
I just feel like it's just very not subtle sometimes in these sequences, which I'm like, yeah.
No, yeah, no,
Yeah.
th- it's definitely not. I do like how they're presented though. Like I do,
Yeah.
even though like it is a different like gameplay sequence. I love that horror aspect of it, and I feel like fear is always part of Batman's character. So them diving into that with this is really cool. I love the presentation.
is this one your guys' favorite Scarecrow sequence in the game? Because it's mine, I think, by a mile.
Yeah.
I really like that hallway that just never ends. I just think that's cool.
That
I don't know how they did that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, what did you guys get for the hint? Like when Joker shoots you, like is it the same for everyone? Mine said is like to avoid Joker's shot, move the middle stick.
Yeah, I got
got
that too.
That's fine. I remember like maybe it's different on versions, but I remember in the 360 version, it was like hit this button to dodge the shot, and it was like a photo of like the Joker icon as like a button on the 360 controller, and I was
That's
like,
cool.
what?
That's cool.
I don't know. Maybe I'm like misremembering that, but I feel like that.
If you came up with that, I would be surprised.
Yeah, it was like a
also-
pink like. It was like a weird button. I was like, this is so
The
strange.
Joker button.
Yeah, it looked like the Joker. Hit the Joker button essentially.
Pull my Joker trigger.
You
Yeah,
gotta make
right.
a console.
Yeah, it is a cool sequence. So I think a lot of stuff combined, like with the addition of replaying the intro, and it's like it's not the whole thing. It's like a very abridged version of it that I think is still effective. And if they went on any longer, it would be annoying. But like, I will say I 90% of my deaths in this playthrough was this sequence, just because it's hard to judge when he's gonna turn and where he turns.
Yeah.
Like, I think I died. I think maybe like 8 times total in this playthrough, and 6 of them were in this sequence. So
Do you know why Batman's fighting skeletons?
it's got a lot of demons on one.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, they're the guards, because like you'll wake up from it and it's like a Titan is there, like on the ground, and like a bunch of guards are. So I think it's just like that, but spooky. But I will say about this, every time you die, I hate how the I'm forgetting like the character that Mark Hamill voices. That's not the Joker. It's like it's like
Scarface.
yeah, Scarface. His line just repeats. Like he starts from the beginning, no matter where you are. Like
Yeah.
he'll just start over. It's like great. I've already heard this 1,000 times.
Yeah. Maybe Omar, because this is like amplifying all of Batman's fears or like his subconscious or whatever, and that's why everything's super in your face. He's fighting skeletons because, like Jack said, there are enemies there, but maybe he only views the people he beats up as like the material bone
Whoa.
that they are. He's like they don't got feelings. They are chemical makeups of bone,
God damn.
and I need to break them to be effective.
He
or
loves
something.
breaking people.
He does.
Even
really does.
you know what? He's in the detective division most of the time I play through. He just sees skeletons anyways. Maybe I don't know.
That's probably that, honestly.
Or I think you
think-
thought of this more than Rocksteady.
Yeah.
Me? But you would think they would. I feel like there must be because sorry, Christian, you asked that question about like what is the point of some of this stuff or like in the game. I think it must be because they want to explore that character, right? Like we discussed.
Sure.
But does that work for me entirely? I don't know. But they're always well directed. I think the execution of these sequences are kind of fantastic.
So I'm actually more curious, I guess, when I was saying what's the point, I was talking more of like the sort of like taking another step beyond like fourth wall breaking to like mess with the player to initiate it
Yeah.
instead of Batman, which they did the first 2 times. I guess that's what I'm more curious about, like why suddenly, other than like we can, and they did. So
I don't know. I think maybe, and again, this is because most of my Batman experience comes from this game and like the movies around this time. But like, I think the idea of Batman or characters or media fucking with the audience directly is kind of dope. Like, I just think if these villains are so crazy and sometimes supposed to be so freaky, I think it's kind of I think they earn the Metal Gear thing, I suppose.
sure.
Because to be fair, Metal Gear villains probably are Batman villains, right? They probably
Yes.
it's probably Kojima got into that.
Yeah, like go ahead, Jack.
I was gonna say I feel like I feel like I remember this game having more Metal Gear influence than maybe it ended up having. Maybe that comes later, but I like with the boss fights and all that. I feel like this was structured similarly to Metal Gear in a lot of ways.
No, yeah,
Metal Gear Solid.
I think so. Especially it's like divided into like especially because you see everyone in the beginning,
Yeah,
and then you like every part of the island's kind of divided by person. You get the Harley segment, the Poison Ivy segment, like. I don't know.
Backtracking with new gadgets. Maybe it's not a Metroidvania or a Zelda like. Maybe it is a Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear
like.
Solid, yeah, maybe.
So
Gotta bring the key card.
yeah.
you're on an island.
Yeah, true.
The last thing about
Goddamn, Metal Gear's good.
Yeah. The last thing about that Scarecrow sequence that I did write down was that when you do the first line launch, there's what I'm assuming is one of the inmates, but Batman is seeing them as himself, like crouched down eating a rat. And I was like, I thought of many things. I thought of Metal Gear Solid. I thought of Rada Alada and how stupid that
Rada and
was.
Lada.
But I did think, I was like, yeah, that's crazy. That's Rocksteady being like, oh, look at that. Look at Batman looking at himself.
Yeah.
He's only one step away from this.
Yeah, exactly, Jack. Environmental storytelling. But after this, we chase down Crane. And he gets like murdered by Killer Croc in the sewers.
Yeah, he gets killed, or like just assuming. I don't know what happens later on, but it looks like he fucking died. You just don't see him again.
Yeah. Why would Croc spare him?
No, it doesn't make sense.
No.
He just fucking died.
Yeah.
I love Scarecrow telling Batman like, what the fuck are you? It took 10 toxins would be enough to drive a man insane or whatever, and like just freaking out about Batman. I love that shit.
Yeah, it's so good. But this is the beginning of another villain-focused area of the game. And Scarecrow has sort of been that bridge throughout all of Arkham Asylum of like, here's this villain's location, this one, and then sort of Riddler and Scarecrow exist on that like, hey, we're here to make your journey interesting. But we have Croc's Lair, which is a maze sort of labyrinth type thing where you gotta walk real slow. Omar, how do you feel about this?
I don't know if you have to walk real slow or this is an easy thing, but if you hold down R2 and then just go full speed on the stick, you won't have problems.
Mm-hmm.
And is it a maze? I don't think so, because that radar is very useful. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I remember when I was like 9 playing this, I was scared shitless.
Yeah, same.
But like now I'm like, oh, whatever. I don't know. I think it's
Yeah.
cool when Croc comes out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those things, like, if you played it 1,000 times, it loses its luster. But I'm trying to, like, think back to the times, like, the first few times I played it, and I think it was really cool. And I still do think it's cool. Because you're really in his lair, and you just have to, like... There's so many jump scares, too, with this, which I feel like these ones are pretty earned. Because it's like, oh, cool, he's not seeing me, and then he just jumps out of the water nowhere. And at points, it's like, which direction is he in? Like, is he in front of me somewhere? Is he behind me? I love it. It's cool.
Yeah, I'm also a fan of this. I remember when I was younger, I was terrified of it, and I thought it was, like, impossible just because of how, like, threatening that was. But, yeah, now, like, doing this, like, I was smiling. I was like, this is a cool sequence, and I was like, I'm sure there's people out there that hate this, but I can't relate. This is just a cool thing that Batman's doing right now, you know?
Yeah, it's fun.
I tried...
It's also...
Oh, go ahead.
Well, do you remember, like, last episode I was talking about how, like, the game talks to you too much?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in this lighter half, and in this segment in particular, it's really nice because you get some real quiet. Like, it is Batman just thinking. You hear these sewer noises. You hear Croc maybe sometimes. But it's like, oh, it's just kind of like... I think this latter half of the game kind of more respects the player in terms of trying to just chill out sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really enjoyed just crawling in that sewer. I'd do it in real life if I could.
I feel like there's a couple ways you can tackle this, right? Because the way you described it was different from what I did. I basically had like a batarang at the ready the whole time because that also like slowed him enough that I could like walk at a normal speed. But I tried to cheese it at first. Like I was like, oh, line launcher, easy. Just like straight down these hallways. And I got through maybe like 3 stretches like that. And then on the third one, I think it alerted him when I landed. And then I thought that was just like, oh, they won't let me do that anymore. So I stopped. But I wonder if you could do the whole thing line launching. I don't know.
I think at various points, like in the later part of it, he'll like reach up and try to grab you when you're on it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I like that. But this takes a while.
I line launched the second half of it, or like after I got all the spore samples.
Mm-hmm.
I line launched like my 500 meters back to the entrance. But yeah,
That was
That-
one part.
Yeah.
The one part that trips me up is running at the very end and it like changes perspective. That always messes with me. This time I did it on my first try, but there have been points where I'm like, I physically like can't wrap my mind around the controls right now.
I was like wondering, like, can they do that? Can other people do the Crash Bandicoot thing?
I did write down Crash Bandicoot is alive and
Okay.
well because it fully does that. It fully
yeah, it
commits to
does.
that.
Even like a couple months before the Uncharted 2
the truck,
in
yeah.
Nepal, right?
Yeah.
Oh right.
But maybe there was out in the E3 demo. I don't know at that point, but it's like, it's crazy. They just did that.
Yeah. I think it's cool. I get what you're
I
saying,
think it's cool,
Jack.
too.
Like I think a lot of games, especially around this time, like love throwing just weird random changes at you and expect you to just know when it's like a very tense situation, but maybe it just like felt slow to me that I was like able to like read the corner turns enough. But I definitely get that. Like it's very random, and this game's already done stuff like that with the Scarecrow thing. And I think what's nice about this though, because one, it's brief, but two, with the Scarecrow perspective shift, like it controls like the exact same there. So like I feel like I should be like a lot snappier, a lot quicker doing the 2D walking than I do as normally Batman in this game. But here it's like it's quick, you know. But I hear you.
Yeah.
Did you fail at all on that section this time? No, you said?
No, yeah, this time sometimes I do. Like if I do try to cheese it, where I like, oh, I'll run, and if he pops up, I'll just get him.
Mhm.
But this time I did Omar's strategy. I held R2 and just kept walking. I do appreciate this. I think maybe like the first playthrough, I probably really thought this was neat, but him spraying the gel at first and being like, what's he doing? And then at the very end being like, oh, that was cool. Batman was prepared even more than I was. So cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's very fun. I love that it's just like a giant bat, too. It's like way bigger than all the other ones he's done. It's very, very cool.
He took the time to do that.
Yeah.
Do you try detonating it like immediately or
Yeah.
anything like that? Okay. He's like, no, not yet.
Not now.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't try that. That's cool.
It was cool.
Um,
I gotta say, I kind of like, I love every time the game throws a fixed camera angle at you, only because like I keep thinking like, oh wow, they could have done something cool here. Like, it just always looks really nice. I
Yeah.
guess maybe Blackgate does that, but
that's what I was thinking, man. Because like when I was
should we play Blackgate?
I was gonna bring that up because like every single time we had to do one of these scarecrow things, I was like, damn, I would just really love a straight up Batman Metroidvania. And I'm like, Blackgate exists, and then I realized like I see the yellow on the Metacritic there, and I'm like, it's probably not worth it. But like,
What's it
it's
on?
cool. It's on the
I
Vita.
think it got ported to everything at some point. Yeah, it was Vita launched. Vita and 3DS, I think, launched.
I think those are two different versions, though. I think.
Really?
I think they're different versions. Yeah. And
That's crazy.
I
There's
think
3
the-
versions of Arkham
I
Origins.
think so. I think the Vita version is the one that got ported to other places. I'm not sure.
Oh boy.
Can you play it on like PS4?
I think it got ported.
console.
I think it did. I'll take a look. Or
Okay.
Christian, you taking a look?
You can if you want to. I can set up the next thing we go to.
No, okay. I'll do it. I'll do it.
Jack, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Amadeus Arkham. We're kind of winding down the number of scannables you can get unless you like fully backtrack. I didn't think too much about this, but I did write it down. I'm curious what you think. Is Amadeus Arkham original character, I think, for this game?
He was actually in the comic I mentioned last
right,
week.
right,
I went
right,
back
okay.
and looked.
So, at least the way he's framed in this game, with all of his like voice clips, do they position him to sort of be like a parallel of Bruce, of like the parents' killers? I was able to confront the guy, things went down, and then where Bruce is like, obviously went his Batman path about like what vengeance is. This guy's like, oh no, I'm gonna lock up people and destroy their lives. Like,
Yeah.
is that kind of what they're going for with those voice memos? You think?
Yeah, that's a good call. I don't think I really thought of it too much, but yeah, it does seem very similar. Where there's a point where he turns and he's like, nope, we're going to just go straight revenge in terms of killing. Like, Batman's revenge, but let's try to be good as possible about it. He's like, nope, let's just lock these people up and kill them as best we can.
Yeah.
Do you guys know what happens when you scan all these?
No.
No.
Quincy Sharp, okay? He is supposedly like the ancestor of Amadeus Arkham. You scan all these, you go to where Quincy Sharp is, and he is the spirit of Amadeus Arkham.
Yo.
And like you go to it, and there's like a big old circle, like it looks like a alien crop circle, and but it's like on the cement or whatever. And you scan it, it's like, yep, it's me, Quincy Sharp. I'm the spirit of Amadeus Arkham. And like future spoilers, he comes into the later games, and they never mention that. You wouldn't think Batman would be like, hey, you're like a ghost. It's never mentioned again.
Could
That's
it be a
so
Batman hallucinating again?
That's also possible.
Was
But
he-
I always thought that was so weird. They just never mentioned that again.
That is strange. That is very, very odd.
I have
But
to look up that scene. That sounds really funny.
Yeah,
Or-
it's funny.
I don't know what I do remember this now because I did have to do that for the platinum, but I wonder if I don't know what the timeline works out here. I don't know how long ago Amadeus Arkham was making these tapes, but like, what if Quincy Sharp was Amadeus Arkham and then Batman style dual personalities, and then Amadeus Arkham was like, no. Quincy Sharp is the real person and Amadeus Arkham's the mask or something like that. I don't know.
Sure.
Yo.
Maybe. But Omar, did you find an answer?
Oh, for Blackgate.
Yeah.
Yes, I have it. Okay. Are you ready for this? It launched on the 3DS and PS Vita. And developer is Armature for both. So I don't know if the versions are different. That is crazy. But we should do that podcast and someone should play the 3DS version. But anyways, that was 2013. In 2014, the deluxe version came out on Wii U, PS3, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PC, and PS4. So Arkham Origins Blackgate is on PS4, but not Arkham Origins.
Oh,
That's weird, right?
Yeah, because that Origins is the one I haven't played, like ever.
Yeah.
They,
It's a lot of probably most people haven't played at this point because you can't get it.
I think Rocksteady hates Origins.
They
do.
absolutely do, yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember, like, they're pretty
it's-
adamant.
It's good. It's like
Yeah, I think
lowercase g
so.
good. It's really unfortunate. And honestly, I feel like it's WB's fault. Like, why? Like, you own the license. Like, why would you just abandon that?
Maybe he was trying to keep Rocksteady happy or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
But it is weird. I feel like when that game was coming out, not to get too, wrap this up fast. When Arkham Origins was coming out, like it was, no one was really saying anything about that. But then when Rocksteady started promoting Night, they're like, yeah, this is the end of our Arkham trilogy.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
I can't believe like WB let them. It was like low key snarky.
I suppose.
And
Yeah.
they just let them do that.
Yeah.
Weird.
That's messed up.
So, I should probably do this later, but I am looking to see if I can find a PS4 copy of Blackgate because is it on PSN? Because I looked up Arkham Origins Blackgate PS4 and I'm not seeing anything.
I tried looking on PSN right now and I can't find it.
Really? It says Blackgate Deluxe Edition. Is it that one? This is what Wikipedia says.
The Wikipedia does say it's on there, and I'm looking on the PSN app on my phone.
Could it have possibly been a pre-order bonus or something?
The only way to play this on a PlayStation console is on PS3 or via the PlayStation Now streaming service. That was January 2020.
Oh, apologies. But then why? Okay.
That's probably not on the new.
It is.
Tier.
I would bet a house that it's not on there, Jack.
So Wikipedia is saying that based on the PS Now version?
Yes.
Yeah. But PS Now is like folded into PS Plus now, and they like completely gutted the library and are just re-releasing it quarterly or monthly.
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's on PC. I can probably maybe try it there. But
And wait, how do you get on PS3 at this point? Is it on the PSN store at least?
maybe a physical copy?
Oh,
Maybe.
I don't know.
I'll check.
But also,
I still have my
Christian,
PS3, so I'll check.
Yeah, Christian, didn't you hack a 3DS recently?
Yes.
Come on.
That one's going to look bad, though. That one's going to be like so low.
Yeah, but come on. Someone's got to report. We should get Kevin. You can play on the Vita. And then
Sure.
I'll play on PC, I guess. We should do this. Sorry.
Put a pin in it.
Arkham Asylum.
So, this is when the end of the game starts. Because you go back to the Batcave, you create a serum, you get one vial of it, and then a plant shows up and ruins everything. You get to grapple up the area where you did the really cool glide halfway through the game. You know, where
Is this when the music kicks in when you're grappling up?
yeah,
Okay, cool.
it was a cool moment.
It's a fun Batman sequence.
The MGS3 moment.
Totally.
Yeah, and then it's kind of just the end of the game because we have to go de-titanize Ivy, and I feel like I might be a dissenter on this. I think this is the worst part of the game, going up against Ivy right now. I hate it. It sucks.
Like the boss fight itself, or like the whole horniness of the area, maybe, or like
Not that, because I don't think that's. Maybe it's just because I'm used to like the character like growing up being sort of like leaning into that stuff because of the lip stuff.
I was playing on my living room sofa, and this was the moment where I had to mute my damn console.
Yeah.
I was like, no one's gonna hear this.
I mean, it is one thing. Like, it didn't shake me, but it is one thing that like literally every single time you do damage to her, she just like flat out moans. But
I'm less embarrassed playing Bayonetta, Christian. The fuck happened?
I don't know, man. Was that also 2009?
Yeah,
Wow.
it was.
Not even that. I just mean like design wise, game wise. This sucks. This is a bad boss fight.
It is.
I don't think I've ever, outside of Jack and Daxter the Precursor Legacy, I don't think I've ever had a good experience fighting a plant boss in my life.
Can't even think of any others.
I
This
still
is
like
Metroid,
this one.
right? But
Oh yeah.
do you say you like this one, Jack?
Yeah, I still do. Even though, like, this and Killer Croc. Killer Croc probably more so because it's a little more inventive. But I feel like these two are the boss fights I still enjoy. Because Bane is kind of just the same as like a Titan fight in a way. We'll get to the last one, but I kind of like this. Like, you get guards coming in every once in a while. I guess it is kind of just a spam batarang thing, and it's like less involved than I remember it was. But I think it's the hardest one. Like, I died during this one. Yeah, I enjoy it. It's kind of dumb. You kind of just spam the batarang the whole time, and you just have to dodge here and there. Mm-hmm. But I think it's fun.
I hate
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, I was saying like the small windows you get to do damage is kind of frustrating sometimes. So I'd maybe miss time the battering or get one time and then get hit by another pod or whatever. But yeah, I sent this in our little Batman chat, but I was sure shocked when she had 2 health bars.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap.
This
You can't be
fight
serious with this.
extra sucks on hard, but what you're talking about with the timing, Omar, I feel like I might just always forget this when I do a replay, but like you can damage her when she's not like open on that lens thing. If you throw batarangs, you can do chip damage, and you can just keep spamming it the whole time as long as you're like not dodging or fighting people.
I did not realize that.
Yeah. If you just like do the quick batarang, like double tap the triggers. I just kept doing that the whole time and like dodged whenever something was happening. I hate the plants coming up out of the ground though, because I feel like the hitbox on that is like way bigger than what the plants actually are.
Yeah, it's not great.
But she
But
had to call her friends too.
Yeah.
What?
all those dudes definitely got killed by us when we were fighting them. Like they got knocked into that pit, and then the whole thing collapsed on them. They're dead.
Oh yeah.
But now that you're saying this, Jack, I don't know if there's been a standout boss fight for me in the game. Period.
It's been disappointing revisiting it, because I think I said maybe when I brought up Arkham City to Hall of Game, because I'm like, oh wow, the Arkham games had like Metal Gear Solid boss fights in a way, and now we're playing through Arkham Asylum. It's like, yeah, these are kind of dumb. they're kind of really dumb.
Christian's go.
I was gonna say, to be fair, I do think also that was a sentiment with our Metal Gear Solid playthrough. We were like, this boss was shit. Like this was not good. So
Yeah.
who knows, you know?
Well, yeah. Also, you brought Arkham City. Earlier, that one Hall of Game thing. Which, if there's one thing this game objectively gets approved on or shot all over, is boss fights. Yeah. Sorry. Just thinking about Arkham City, I'm excited.
Yeah. Like, I think overall, holistically, Arkham Asylum introduced a lot of things that get better.
Yeah. So, I'm not trying to be a whole downer, because I do think, like, art direction wise, the Ivy takeover, like you were saying, Omar, like the environment's changing, all that stuff, and like this boss design is cool. Just like in practice, in terms of like navigating this map and then this boss fight, it actively makes me upset. Like it just frustrates me.
I was talking to I'm a fan of the fixed cameras, but here the fixed camera wasn't exactly the nicest to look at. It was more like, here's a lot of visual information. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and only like some of it's useful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And I really, is Poison Ivy a good character? I haven't read the books, but I think her moaning and stuff is kind of freaky. Like I don't get it.
She's gotten better, I think.
Okay.
But again, Poison Ivy's another character where, like, when I was reading her bio, when like she's taking her like monologues in the second half of the game, I'm like, she really is just somebody who like cares for the environment, right? Like, yeah, she kills people, but I feel like it's that sort of problem that a lot of superhero media has, where it's like, this person makes some very, very valid points, and now they're gonna kill 30 people, so you don't like them. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, just gonna do that again here, but then we get the end of the game after this fight. Oh, I was gonna ask, do you guys know what he like wrote with the gel? Did he write Ivy? Because
No,
the
I
first
think he
time,
just
okay,
scribbled, no?
the first time it looked like he wrote something, and the second time was definitely just like a. So, I don't know.
I thought he just scribbled.
It probably was just that, yeah. But then the end of the fight, the end of the game happens. Excuse me. This I really love the setup of. Right, how great is that? You glide out of the botanical gardens. This fireworks going off on like the east or west side of the island. Joker comes on the PA. He's like, "Well, the party's starting, Batman," and then you just gotta make your way over there. That's pretty cool, right?
Fireworks. You got old-timey music going. I don't know if it was Frank Sinatra or Dean Martin, but one of them.
I think it's super cool, especially because, when we all first played this game, I think the question was, oh, I can't wait to see this party. What's up with this party? It's just cool.
Did you guys beat up the guards this time?
No.
I didn't either. I think it's so cool to just walk past them.
Yeah. I thought that there was a thing where like if you didn't fight them, maybe it's if you take too long walking through the corridor, they'll all jump you. Because I swore that no matter what you do with the outside guards, the internal ones are like, no, it's one more like combat room you got to take care of before the final boss. But no, you can just walk.
Yeah,
I like
I
that.
think that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can see that in like comic panels of Batman, of him just like you expecting him to fight, kind of like Captain America in the elevator in Endgame. It's like, all right, a fight's about to go down. You just walk through. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. I also like it as well because it obviously they're the Joker group, but like they sort of with their dialogue throughout the game have this sort of like, oh, we have to hold back because the boss wants us to, because like he has this freak obsession with Batman, and like there must be what, like 30 dudes in that hallway. And I do like, it's like, well, they're not doing it because Joker gave them orders and they're more scared of that. So like I do think that's a really cool touch. So, and the decorations and all that stuff. So
you do wonder why, I feel like, and I know this is like a video game thing, but why they're so willing to work with the Joker still at the end of this game sometimes. Because I assume at some point they've seen what the Titan formula is, but maybe they just hate Batman that much. But I don't know.
I want to know what they're getting paid.
Yeah.
Because like I'll join up. What's
Damn.
the paycheck?
you got benefits.
They probably get a lot of money.
Probably, yeah.
The guards,
Yeah.
Joker's Blackgate Man.
I would think.
You'd have to imagine, but there has to be a reason why they're doing it.
I mean,
they're probably making 200K.
Goddamn.
because
right?
I guess like also some of them are probably in there for life for working with the Joker. So like, what do they have better to do? Also, it's like, why not?
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, it's definitely valid questions. It's just a strange thing. There's also that whole thing where like Joker, he's trying to poison the rest of the world with Titan in the river.
Isn't that Batman Begins? Or like,
Yeah, it is.
okay,
It's the same. It's well, yeah, because they do in Batman Begins is the fear toxin,
right,
but this is Titan
with the
that Joker's trying to.
microwave.
Yes, Joker's trying to flood
That would be
the
so fucking sick.
the
Got this
reservoir.
microwave from Raytheon. Working like, yeah. The scale of it gets kind of dumb.
It really does.
Yeah.
That's where it kind of loses me. Where like obviously the Joker is gonna have a stupid like motivation because it's the Joker, but it gets like bad comic booky in a way where it's like, all right.
I do like this is a thing that gets set up early game, and I think we learn about it in the second playthrough or the second part. But early game, Gordon leaves because Joker called in bomb threats across Gotham, and then I think in the second half is when you learn that like it was a box full of puppies or something. Like it was nothing. It was just a fake thing to get people riled up. And like Batman called that the first time we heard about it, and then we like learned what it was actually like. But I like that sort of Joker maniacal thing more than the I'm gonna poison the water hole, and it's like Batman fixes it in like 2 seconds. It's like, okay, I gotta go in this extra room and turn off this nozzle and fixed it, you know. But
Is that what the 3 pumps were for?
Yeah.
Was that whole plot? Yeah.
yes, the thing you could finish in like 2 minutes.
And one room has 2 of them. Yeah. Like, I didn't understand it.
So that plot or that like extra sub distraction thing I didn't like as much as the whole like, oh, fake threats. But what confuses me is Gordon, who went to the mainland and confirmed, I think is the one who called Batman, was like, they were fake things, is back. Like, was this like a Dark Knight sort of thing where like he was in a car with his trusted buddy in the GCPD, but it's like, surprise, I'm on Joker's payroll, I'm gonna drive you back to the asylum. Like, what happened there? How did he get back?
That's a great point. I have no clue.
Yeah.
And now that you're bringing it up, I'm like, oh, it's kind of dumb. I mean, this whole section's really dumb, and we'll get into it. But yeah, I don't know.
So we get the first stage of the boss room, which is again 2 Titans. In that cutscene, Conroy's had some rough delivery in this game. I've noticed. I think specifically when he
You think
has
he's
to yell.
slacking?
What?
You think he's slacking?
Yeah.
All right.
when he has to scream no, he's not doing his best. He's like,
What
no.
is this in context to? Was it when when Gordon's about to get hit with the thing and he comes in?
Yeah, and he shoots the thing at him. He's like, no. Like, it's bad. Look it up,
I just kind of
please.
assume that's how Kevin Conroy does Batman.
I don't know, man. I feel like I've heard Batman say no in his voice, and it's like better.
More enthusiastic about saving his friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like there's some maybe bad voice direction throughout this game. Even if it's like Batman talking to guards, it's like, oh, that was the take you went with. That's a choice.
Yeah.
And the guards are particularly bad for sure.
Yeah.
I wrote
I don't know.
down-
Maybe I'm just poisoned, or maybe like because I played this game when I was so young. But I just think the Batman voice is like perfect.
Oh no,
Where
the
it's
voice
like-
is great. It's just I think the delivery on like a couple lines is kind of weak.
I think for me, I just thought that was the character.
Okay.
Like to not care that much.
Sure.
Like to be cool.
Yeah, it's like there's two instances where I wrote down no exclamation point.
No.
I think the first was in the gardens at the beginning. He says it, and then here at the end, it's just like it was just funny. It wasn't like bad. It was just like it took me out of it for a sec.
I really do see what you mean. I think you're honestly 100% right. I just think I probably just contextualize it as no, that's just what Batman does. But Batman just does a bad job at voice acting. I don't know. Occasionally.
And then we have, the first wave of the final boss, which is just the Titans, and then we get the Joker Titan. Does anything stand out from the lead up to that? There's that long cutscene, I feel like the longest in the game, of Batman and Joker talking in the room before he shoots himself. Any highlights there?
I think it looks pretty anime, that whole arena where he's like sitting on a throne.
Yeah.
It looks kind of nasty.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was cool.
Jack, did you feel like the frame rate in this section was like bumped up? Because I felt like everything was moving way faster in that fight.
I don't know if I noticed that.
Okay.
Because this is 30 frames a second.
Yeah.
Do you have a
Which is
physical
weird.
copy, Jack?
No, I have a
Okay.
digital copy. I think I got it on like sale in 2019. But yeah, I do know what you're about to say though, because if you get rid of the patch, I think in Arkham City, you can play it.
I just
uncapped
found that
at
out today.
60.
Yeah.
Yeah, that pisses
It's
me
crazy,
off. Like, why?
yeah.
Why can't I do that?
Mm.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Okay. It might have just been like me seeing things, but I did feel like I was like, is this moving at like maybe it was just like isolated to this room. They wanted to look nicer. That maybe they like bumped it or unlocked it or something. But yeah, it stood out to me. But
I don't want to be a constant walking ad for the Steam Deck, but I'm really impressed. 60 frames the whole time. It's
Oh,
cool.
that's nice.
It's like not a bad price. I don't know. PC
Yeah.
gaming.
That is nice though. That's
it's
probably the most enjoyable way to play it right now.
I have definitely thought a couple times like, oh wow, I'm playing this game on my portably. It's like, oh, I used to need a damn TV for this. I don't know.
But in a climactic moment, when Joker is ready to give up, he ends it all. No, he doesn't. He shoots himself up with some Titan, and then we get this game's lasting legacy, the one of the worst final bosses I've ever played in a goddamn video game.
Is it that bad?
It's that bad.
Why?
I used to think this was fine. I was like, people are overreacting. And then you see Joker's skeleton pop through his body, and it's like, why? And he has a mohawk.
He looks fucking stupid.
Yeah, the design's bad.
Yeah.
The motivation's bad. It's just everything's. And the fight itself is really boring. It reminds me of he throws bombs at some points, and it reminds me of the very specific part in Sly Cooper 1 where you go to Ms. Ruby and you go to like the chicken coop, and there's like the exploding chickens running and chasing you. Oh, it's horrible.
Those teeth bombs.
Yeah, it's real bad.
So, I like functionally, Omar. I think it's fine, right?
Okay.
Like it's competent. There's nothing like wrong with it, but I think for like how great 75% of this game is, like across the board, not just talking about like playthrough time, like this game gets so much right. I think on this replay, I've noticed for sure it does not get bosses right. And I think the fact that the final confrontation with Joker, who is the biggest enemy for Batman this entire playthrough, it's like, what's he gonna fight like? What's he gonna do? And he just is the same exact thing that you fought like 7 times already in this game. I think is just, I don't know, like, I guess you could maybe argue it fits thematically with what the rest of the game is, but it's still like the same recycled kind of fight that we've done with Bane and every other Titan thing. Like, it's presented a little differently, but that doesn't add much to me. You know?
I think you're right. Like, I just don't think it's like. I feel like, yeah, maybe this is the thematic point, but in terms of like, I think Titan stuff in general is like just stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like at some point this game just kind of onboards you onto that path.
Yeah.
And I think when this stuff comes out at the end, it's like not the most out of place thing. It's
Sure.
like, okay, I see where you're going. It is a bit of a bummer. I won't lie.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I feel like Rocksteady really wanted to end this game like a big bombastic note, and this is what they came up with. Like, I feel like that was pretty unnecessary. I have a feeling that was something like late in development. Like, we really need to like end this on a huge note, and I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it fits with Joker all that much as a character. Like, in the comics he does, especially in like the Scott Snyder one. I think his face is like torn off, and like he staples it back onto himself. Like, he gets in terms of that stuff, like he'll do that, but I don't know. Shooting himself up with Titan and becoming a giant Joker just very odd for the character.
Like, I think because you get to see other characters, I guess, sort of shine in certain ways, right? Like, Scarecrow, his entire boss encounter is centered around fear. You know, it's not a traditional boss, but like it is thematically like fully Scarecrow. Bane's a Titan, so it's like, okay, sure, that's gonna overlap. Croc, Predator, you're being hunted. Poison Ivy, I get, like, a plant, sure. Like, it makes sense, I guess. She's using, like, magic, basically. So, like, that entire playthrough, like, on a first playthrough, you're, like, building up what is Joker going to be like. Is it going to be, this game is so heavy with exploration? Are you going to have to, like, meet him at, like, different points of the island, remember all your skills, like, stealth him? Are you going to have to just do hand-to-hand? Like, what's it going to be? And even removing that sort of like what this could have been from it, evaluating it for what it is, it's the 6th Titan fight, you know? Like, it's, I think that's where it falls flat. And it is just very goofy and kind of wah, wah, it's like an ending thing, you know?
I just feel like if it's the 6th Titan fight, like, you're already ready for it. How could this then be like one of the worst boss fights ever?
Yeah, I think it's because of like what I was saying with like just so much of the rest of this game is like so well done, well thought out, and then it's like, that's what you did? That was the ending? Yeah. And like, well, there's not even much of a twist on it. Like, I do think it's neat that he's like sort of showboating to the news camera, and that's like how you take him down, but that's really it for me. I don't know. How do you feel?
No, I feel you. I think also maybe the most like something I learned about this game, this playthrough, probably the most surprising thing was I think the Joker in this game is kind of like a annoying or maybe a bad character in general, not in general, in this game, which I just feel like, I guess I didn't think it was really that much of a disservice when he did that in the game. I was like, it sounds about right for this guy, because he even mentioned it before, the kind of caricature stuff, or like the constantly spamming the radio and just kind of being, I think Jack, you said maybe try hard edgy, like. I don't know. I just thought it was like, it's definitely not a good boss fight, but it never put exactly a damper on this game for me.
Sure. I guess, Jack, for your thoughts with your playthrough, right? Like, do you think that it was satisfying? Like, final blow on Joker? Like, I do think it is cool that he does like the explosive gel punch. That's very, very fun. But
that was cool. Like, taken out of the context of what's going on, him doing the explosive gel punch was pretty sweet.
Yeah. So Are there any other general feelings or thoughts or specific thoughts about that final boss encounter? Because I feel like it's kind of laid all out there. It's pretty straightforward.
I also might just be extra kind to it because like I feel like of that era, most final bosses sucked ass. So I was just kind of ready for it when it happened. Like yeah.
It feels this game elevates itself as a licensed game like way more than any other games did at that time, and this part feels very mid 2000s licensed game. So it feels kind of out of place, I think. Compared to like what you were saying, Christian, like most of this game is so good and sets itself apart from other games of that ilk at the time. However, this part is definitely like a bad comic or like a licensed video game. Like we got to end it with a bang. Joker's got to get big.
As a point of comparison, 2009, I just recently did this. I replayed Uncharted 2. I think this boss fight is on the same level as Lazarevich, where it's just like, what am I doing? It's like, so much of this game is amazing, and then it's like, all right, bop, bop,
But
bop, bop,
Blue
bop.
Sap.
a huge improvement from the Uncharted 1 boss fight.
Is it?
I don't know. They might have fixed it in the Blue Point remaster, to be fair, but on the first, in the PS3 one, it was like a really annoying QTE fest. I remember that. They're both not good. It's really, I'm just being annoying. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like the QTE for the Navarro fight at the end is just like when you rush him for the final thing. The Lazarevich thing just kind of, it's like this. It's like I'm basically doing what I've done a lot. Like every time you fought a heavy guy, you got to spam grenades, you got to spam explosives on Uncharted 2. It's like every time you fight a Titan, you got to hit him with a gadget and then beat them in the face. It's like, all right. So again, I don't think that ruins Uncharted 2. I don't necessarily think this ruins this game, but I don't think it helps at all.
I should be clear too. This is a terrible boss fight, no doubt. I just don't think it's. I never thought of it as big of a deal. But This is also me being like toxic middle schooler who bought like spent $100 on the collection edition of this game. I saved up, and it was like, why do these reviewers not like the boss fight? I like it. You know, like I don't know.
Yeah. I really think, to just sum it all up, it just comes back to the lows feel so much lower considering how high the highs get in this game, I guess. Maybe that's a better way to phrase it. But speaking of, game ends right after that. Very abruptly. You get a cutscene. The Titans are back to normal somehow. And Batman flies off into the distance to go stop a robbery. And then we get a post-credit scene where Bane is alive in the harbor, grabs a box of Titan, and that's it.
Did you mention Two-Face?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my bad.
Also, depends on. I didn't sit through the credits for this, so I didn't know who I got. But it could also be Bane or Croc or Scarecrow at the end.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was trying to determine what determines that.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking difficulty, but some people seem to suggest it could be like entirely random. So, I don't know. I like the idea of Scarecrow for like future spoiler reasons, but Croc kind of makes no sense. Bane kind of makes sense in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
When I saw the Bane hand, I was like, I mean, like, again, I know where the series goes, but like when I saw the Bane hand, I was like, okay, yep. That is a confirmation that Batman is not a murderer. But when you say Scarecrow, like that one makes sense as like a post-credit thing.
Yes.
But yeah, that's like maybe like a 1 or 2 minute cutscene is the ending of this game. It is very, very brief. But I asked for statistics as we look at our main menus upon completion. I ended the game. There were 240 riddles you could get. That includes like scans and trophies. Out of the 240, I had 148 collected. I did 18 of the 20 upgrades. I had 37 of 42 bios, and overall 73% completion. Jack, what about you?
I was very similar to you. I had 158 of 240 riddles, 19 of 20 upgrades, 37 of 42 character bios, and 75% complete.
Nice. Omar?
don't be mean now. I did 69 of 240 riddles.
Hey,
I did not
nice.
mean for that. Yeah, I swear. 14 upgrades, 16 character bios, and 63% completion.
nice. Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a decent coverage, right? Like, there are definitely secrets you have to double back for with this game, but, like, Jack, we got the majority of the character bios, I feel like I didn't really go out of my way. There were a couple things where I was like, oh, yeah, that's right, there's, like, a thing, like, up there if I'm going through a hallway, so I'm like, I might as well get it, but...
Yeah, I feel like this game is also just burned into my memory. Where, like, I mentioned it last episode, if I'm walking into a hallway, I'm like, oh, the penguin secret's over here. I'm just going to go scan that. Or, like, oh, I know Catwoman's thing is right here. Because I think I've platinumed it or, like, gotten all the achievements, like, 3 or 4 times at this point. Like, over 360, PS3, and now PS4. Like, I've just done it so many times.
So, that's Batman Arkham Asylum. I guess opening up to like a brief general thoughts, just recap, retrospective look. Has anybody's opinion on this changed going into it and now completing the game?
I feel like this game... I feel like maybe I said it at the beginning of the episode. I'm not sure if I really need to go back and play this game again. I feel like I've derived everything I've gotten out of this game over the years. And this playthrough has not like soured my experience, but in some ways have been like, oh, I see through the cracks of the wall at this point. Like, the gameplay isn't all that great compared to future Arkham games. The story and the vibes, I think, are still really cool, and I like exploring the island. But then there are just some like pretty poor writing decisions that I don't love exploring, and there's some like secondhand cringe like moments in this game where I'm like, oh man, I didn't need to hear or see that. So it's a little tough, but I still really love this game. On GG, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Like, I still feel like it's really fantastic. And the legacy of this game is really important. It's still one of my favorite games of all time, but I'm not really sure I need to go back and replay it anytime soon.
Yeah, I'll just say quickly, because I think I'm in a similar boat to you, Jack. I feel like Omar might have other things to say about it, but
You can go as long as you like.
no, it's brief. I feel very similar. This game is very special to me with like the stories I've had about it, like my first time on a big console like that. I love Batman, always have, and this was like sort of a wish fulfilling thing that they finally made a Batman game that was really cool and good. And then on this replay specifically, the last time I played this, I think was like maybe 3 years ago. I did the platinum, and that is what really got me to see like the nuts and bolts of this game. I was like, I see every flaw with it. I see everything that's great about it, and I feel like I was my most objective the last time I did this because of what it forced me to do. And on this playthrough, I still have very fond memories of it. I still love the atmosphere, the scenario, the vibe. I think all that stuff is immaculate and maybe the best of the trilogy when it comes to just like flat out concept. But yeah, I think playing through it, I was curious based off of the last Hall of Game, the first time this was brought at the Hall of Game, like I was like, which one do I really like more? Because I've always for a while said City.
And I've seen you flip before too.
I have flipped.
Occasionally, yeah.
And playing through it this time, I feel almost entirely confident that City's my favorite by like a mile. Because, again, not getting into specifics, but I do think that this game lays a lot of really fantastic groundwork that time hasn't been super kind to. And like the iterations that get done on it, I think really, really help elevate what was great about this one. So I'm very similar to you, Jack. I think I gave it on my little notepad, I gave it like a 8.5 out of 10. Still great. I still really love this game. Not super hungry for a replay anytime soon. Like last gap was a couple years. I'll probably revisit it again in a few years, but Arkham Asylum is still absolutely like one of my favorite gaming experiences I've ever had. So that hasn't changed. Still love it.
Yeah. Is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Um, uh, I don't think I've played this game honestly. Maybe like it's at least 7 years. It might be 8 or 9 though. So it's been a while. Um, I definitely would have said this is one of my favorite games before, and it definitely to me was with a bullet my favorite Arkham game. Uh, it came out of kind of a very important summer for me, where it's like I think I might have told you guys this before, but like it was '09. I convinced my parents to let me play Metal Gear Solid 4, and then I did that, and then this game was like a month later, and then 2 months later was like Uncharted 2 and Ratchet and Clank, and that's when I became the gamer and got into like invested in the kind of media stuff, um, and it was cool. It felt really good to go pick it up and kind of finish it. I think I have my PS3 trophies here. Where are they? Yeah, my first trophy was on 3 p.m. on the 25th of August 2009, and then I beat it on August 26th. So a day after I got it. But yeah, this playthrough was a little interesting because in my mind the writing and voice acting in this game was maybe the most bulletproof thing about it. You couldn't go wrong. Uh, but this playthrough, I definitely think I might just be over this version of the Joker at least, or in the way he is in this game, and how much he talks. And honestly, recently this year, there was that new Batman movie. I think I talked to Christian a lot about this, but I thought the Riddler was so annoying, and now I'm thinking with this game, I think the Riddler sucks too. Maybe I just hate some of these Batman villains. You know, a lot of them I found it in like these like weird like I don't know, it feels almost like ableist, right? Like whenever writing, it's odd. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I don't like Batman as much as I thought I did. That might be a problem. But in terms of Arkham and ranking them, I suppose I always thought City was kind of dumb. I loved it, but like from like the whole initial concept, like yeah, we made a city for prisoners. That just doesn't write itself like Arkham Asylum does, you know. But no, I'm pretty curious about playing that. I still feel like I might think Arkham Asylum is my favorite, just because in terms of releasing and the story of, hey, Rocksteady is this weird developer no one's ever heard of. Oh shit, they just made like the craziest Batman game, and also like is this like cinematic masterpiece or whatever, and like the foundation for the rest of that series is all here. Mm-hmm. It's all in this initial vision, and I just kind of respect and appreciate that so much that it's kind of has my heart, but in my brain, yeah, Arkham City is definitely probably way better. Hopefully, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, no, I don't know. Christian, you were right. Fuck, you got me.
Yeah, that's the entire reason I got you to agree to the show.
Yeah.
No, I get you though, because I think you can't remove like, despite how like I feel about it today, like it's still, and like from what Jack said too, like very important game to me. And
very
important game overall, because like you look at what it did for licensed games, like Spider-Man exists because of this, the way it does.
It's that same foundation, I feel like, too, you know, which is crazy.
Yep. A lot of WB games as well, like there's that Mad Max game that is straight up Arkham in an open world.
Middle Earth.
Exactly. Like it's
developed a whole new formula.
Yeah, right. It absolutely did. And I don't think you can ever take away like the accolades that this game has or what it achieved, because it still did those things. I just think that it's interesting going back to, because you still see what's so great about it, right? With like we've been talking about the scenario, the concept, the fact that like you are Batman for one night on an island with all of his worst enemies. All that stuff still holds up. It's just, I think, the nature of games being tied to tech and, you know, like ambition at the time. Like most games don't age well. In my opinion, I think there are some shining examples, and there's some that like have really strong elements that stand the test of time. But even this though, like I still enjoyed this more than like Guardians of the Galaxy last year. Like I still had a better time with this than I did with that game, which is way newer and definitely exists the way it does because of this series as well, you know.
I don't know if it's like obviously, yeah, the combat and stuff and gameplay does get better in later entries. But like in terms of aging and the other stuff at the time, did this game age poorly or did we just grow up? Like, and maybe that's the same thing, I suppose. But I have to imagine someone in 2009 knew this game was fucked up. Like, I don't know.
It's like watching a '90s comedy now.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they were really saying stuff like that, huh? Back then.
I mean, like, and people I think pieces about The Dark Knight being like pro Iraq War and like stuff like that, or like kind of this propaganda stuff. Like, I think it's just kind of integral to the Batman that there must have been someone that knew at the time this game was kind of fucked. But like,
and I mean,
any woman probably.
yeah, most likely.
I think another thing also is like just in terms of like this panel and like our perspective on this game, like
we're three white guys.
we all played this when we were 13, right? So like the initial memory and like the associations we have with this game are like so ingrained where it's like I think when we did this for Metal Gear also and like doing it for another franchise where we all have experience in like we did Metal Gear, I think playing through it with the like expectation of we're going to be talking about it this way puts a different lens on it, right? Because like I didn't notice any of this stuff the last time I played through this game. I wasn't like, oh, maybe they shouldn't have had you beat up these people that are like in this asylum. Maybe that's a bad call. Like I wasn't thinking, and I played that when I was in college and I didn't even think about it then. So like, I think it matters of like what you're looking to get out of it as well. So I will always love this game easily, like flaws and all, but I do think the flaws are there for sure.
I know, this conversation can be kind of boring with how many remakes and remasters come out, but I feel like a remake of this game would be fucking sweet. Like I would play the absolute shit out of it. Like even if it's just like we're giving you like the glossier graphics, like high res graphics with like Arkham City's combat and like the encounters have more like goons that you can beat up, like sign me up. All for that. I feel like I know like a lot of the writing issues, like that would probably be a bigger remake, like a straight up from the ground up remake. But even with like the gameplay increases, I feel like it would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, if we like Resident Evil 1 remaked this, where it's like structurally almost identical, but like the tone is shifted, like you add some like Resident Evil 1 remake added this like really cool subplots, like maybe add an extra villain. I do think my biggest surprise with this was how much I didn't love the pacing. That's just a personal thing. Like I think it's like it's fine, but I definitely felt the first half or the first segment we played through flowed better to me. So like I think this game could use with some tweaks because I think this one still has the best scenario, like I said. Like Omar, I know you brought this up the first episode, but like they could make a Batman Arkham Asylum with like different story beats like every generation. And it would be great.
You could just reboot it. You could just keep making this game again.
Yeah,
which is cool. And like you could, I think honestly, Christian, I've had that idea, and Jack, you just had this idea of a remake. I'm thinking about a reimagining, but obviously we both thought about story beats. But I think the last episode, Christian, you mentioned like just like straight up just do a sequel, like which could be cool, or like just Batman's back in that prison or in Arkham Asylum, and then like events happen later on. Maybe some characters aren't around anymore. Mm-hmm. It'd be kind of a good way to just explore that again.
Yeah.
But also for us though too, like in terms of knowing the structure of Arkham, I think a nice clean break would be cool too. Like let's get someone to just scramble it up and try and make a game without Joker. Maybe I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, Gotham Knights, no Joker in that game confirmed. So
really.
As far as they've said. So, Omar, did you have a ranking or a score in mind? I know we both threw out numbers.
A
I don't know
score?
if you have one. Letter grade, stars.
Is 10 out of 10 a perfect video game?
Great.
You can't not give it a 10. Like it's too powerful. Mm-hmm. Like
I was thinking
I can't even like. This is not even like my opinion. This is just like God speaking through me. It's just a perfect 10. I don't know. It's got problems though.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, you guys, you definitely can't give it like an 8.5. I think you're right too. But
I almost gave it a 9.
I just
I
respect
think
it too much.
if I was leaning into the history fully, not just like this playthrough, I'd probably give it a 9 because I love it, you know. And I know we've probably said a lot of negative things about Arkham Asylum over these 2 episodes, but Omar, if there's anything else you want to like give flowers to, this is your stage too. You can.
Oh, for Asylum?
Yeah.
I might have given it all the flowers I can. And I know you guys aren't haters. I think both of you probably love it more than most people.
Yeah, I mean, like, if anybody who's on like the Batman Arkham subreddit listens to this, they're gonna be like, Christian and Jack, what the fuck? They even like these games? Like,
no, well, I should make it clear too. I think you know your points are very valid, and I think I share most of them. To be honest, I just can't. And maybe this is me just being kind of dumb, but like it's just 2009, game came out of nowhere.
Like, Modern Warfare 2, tactical nukes on cities, you know, like it's different time.
It's just like one of the maybe the craziest industry story to me. And what's crazier is the fact like that, you know, we heard that fact about them making it in 21 months.
Yeah.
And now this company that came from the ground up out of nowhere has now like all but disappeared. Like there's a myth to Rocksteady that I can't stop thinking about.
Yeah.
I can't wait to play the other 2.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Speaking of, these episodes are probably coming out a decent bit after we record them. So for you listening or watching, what that means is that you're not going to have to really wait at all to hear what we think about Arkham City. But I don't think there's anything you have to worry about because I think scheduling is just going to work out perfectly for the releases of this. But Arkham City is next. What we figured out is we're going to do Arkham City similar to how we did this. Probably going to have an extra episode or 2. We are going to do the Harley Quinn's Revenge DLC. So that's going to be all covered in the Long Play Club for Batman Arkham City. But Arkham Asylum, any closing thoughts? If not, things you disagree with, things you really believe about this game, plugs, all that stuff. Jack, we'll start with you. What's up?
Sure. Still really love this game. I think I appreciate the, like I said, like the environments and like going through the story and just like the feeling that you get going through this game more so than like, I guess the main story, like with the Joker and some of the combat stuff feels a little outdated. Still really love it. It's in like my top 20s. Like that won't change. I don't think ever. I feel like I said earlier, I've probably gotten everything I can out of this game. Nothing really struck me as different or unique this time. But I still love it. It's just hard to go back to. Maybe more so than some of the other ones, which I'm excited to dive into. Maybe I said before we recorded, like, I'm a little nervous to go to Arkham City now. And Arkham Knight, like, am I going to go through this trilogy and be like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I love it as much as I used to. So we'll see. But Arkham City is like in my top 3. So pretty nervous about that one. But you can follow me on social media at Fascinated Jack.
Very nice. Omar, same to you. You got the spotlight. What's up?
Was the question like final thoughts and then spotlight?
Yeah, final thoughts. Okay.
I think I spilled most of them.
Any things you've disagreed with that you want to reiterate about your
disagreed? I didn't disagree with any of it.
That
final boss fight was cool. I really don't think that. I think you guys were right. I don't really know. Again, it's just, you know, the fact is like the game sets a foundation that just honestly never got stirred. Like no one changed it. Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen anyone try this formula then do anything different with it. Maybe Gotham Knights, I don't know. But yeah, even Rocksteady didn't. Like that fucking Spider-Man game that is just good. It's an important video game, and I think it's cool. In terms of where you can find me, I am on Joyclicks still.
Very nice. For updates on the Long Play Club, for scheduling for episodes and following along with the other Arkham games, you can check out at Joyclicks on Twitter or youtube.com/Joyclicks for the video version of the Long Play Club. There's a playlist. The Arkham series will have their each dedicated ones. There's all the ones up there for Metal Gear Solid games, the From Software games we've done, and now the Arkham games. If you want to listen to the audio version of this show, though, you just got to look up Joyclicks or Long Play Club, Batman Arkham Asylum podcast. I'm sure we'll get you there on your favorite podcast service. Just look it up. You'll find it along with every other episode of the Long Play Club we've done so far in the same podcast feed. If you enjoy the show, if you listen to the backlog, if you like what you heard, rating and reviewing is a very quick way to help us out. Just a quick tap of 5 stars or a little blurb helps us reach more people. And if you want to support the shows, you can do so monetarily by going to patreon.com/joyclicks at the $1 and $5 tiers. $5 will give you producer credit on every show we produce, like Aaron Easton and Jose Garcia. So thank you very much. You can find me everywhere at Shun2D2. And that is Batman Arkham Asylum, the first of a legendary trilogy that we will see through together, maybe more.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Can we like, I think we need to cut some slack to Warner Brothers Montreal again. I think we need to acknowledge it as a quadrilogy.
Quadrilogy.
However you say that.
The Arkham quadrilogy.
Yeah,
I want to
think
play
we got it.
Origins. Origins is
We're
pretty
gonna.
I've never played it, so that's going to be
That's gonna be
Christmas game.
awesome.
good. One of you is going to host that one. So,
Cool.
but yeah, that is Arkham Asylum. We'll be back pretty soon for you for Arkham City. But as we sign off, is there a specific other Batman thing we want to end off on? Any quote? We did the Bane thing last time. Anything else?
Let's try and see.
Any general Batman quote? Doesn't have to be from this game.
Batman quote. Fuck.
Oh, I'm not
Where's the
wearing hockey pants.
Fuck yeah.